Have any of you guys ever traveled out of Western Washington? How about out of Washington State? Do any of you guys own a passport? If you've answered yes to all three of these questions, according to the Bureau of Consular Affairs, you are 1 out of 3 people in America to even own a passport, which means you are only 1/3 of the U.S. population that can legally travel out of the United States. As a regular world traveler, having visited 16 countries around the world and having lived in 4, I would first like to show you why world travel is so important as an education, how it helps to lessen the height of ethnocentric attitudes in American people, thirdly, how it can help with physical and emotional growth, and lastly, how anyone can travel the world if they put their heart into it. As I told you earlier, over 65% of Americans don't even own a passport, which means they have not been able to travel out of the United States. This means that over 65% of the U.S. population is missing out on the amazing and helpful things that can be learned while traveling the world. Traveling to other countries is not only fun and exciting, but it's an education in itself. In the past, travel was considered an essential part of education. Poets and writers realized the value of travel and went to other countries in search of knowledge. A man's education was not considered complete until he had visited foreign countries. Bookish knowledge can be attained from reading books, while practical knowledge can be gained from traveling the world. Traveling also helps develop resourcefulness. In our travels, we are faced with many unforeseen difficulties. We may not know the language of a certain country we are in, and so we feel utterly helpless. At times, we run short of necessary articles which can be obtained at that place. Hundreds of other difficulties may arise, and the traveling man will be found more resourceful in devising a means to overcome these. This is a maturing process, and it does not come easily for some, but overall, this process leads to positive growth. Traveling the world also helps lower people's ethnocentric attitudes. And all too often, as Americans, we are guilty of this attitude of ethnocentrism, which is defined by magazine writer Gwen Powell as looking through the filters of our own experiences, values, beliefs, and behaviors as the center of our world. This attitude, guys, causes a lot of prejudice and injustice in our world today. The unfamiliarity and solitude that comes from time spent traveling the world are great incubators for thought, and with world traveling, there is constant new exposure to such a wide variety of outlooks that a person has to think about and question everything which may have seemed previously concrete to them. As expressed by writer and fashion model Celine Joyris, the exposure to foreign cultures helps prevent cultural bias and us and them thinking, and liberates people from the notion that there is only one right way of doing things. Exploring the world causes physical and emotional growth. As stated by writer Seda Naqvi, travel is the means through which man is able to liberate himself from trivial anxieties of this world which oppress him to no end. It enables him to transcend through his mechanical existence and be exposed to the wondrous excitement and novelty that the world has to offer. In other words, we can get so trapped in our frivolous, perfunctory life of our 9-to-5 jobs that we don't get exposed to the amazing and wonderful things that this life has to offer us. Life is so short, so why would you spend your life in a bubble when there's so much more outside that bubble? So you might be thinking right now, I don't have the money or the time to travel. These are definitely common reasons behind the lack of travel today. If this is the case for you, let me, a very busy, low-income individual myself, share with you some things that I was able to do that you can also do to travel the world cheaply and have the time of your life. There are many ways in which a person can travel the world efficiently and cheaply. The first is to start planning now. Put that extra money you have away for your future travels. This could mean taking a coffee out of your diet a week and putting that money in a jar, or resisting the urge to buy that perfect piece of clothing. And believe me, guys, this stuff adds up really quickly. Secondly, check international airline deals often and include oneworld.com into your sites to check for amazing multi-continental airline deals. Thirdly, when traveling the world, have an open-minded view and be willing to stay in public dorms, host family houses, hostels as recommended by hostels.com, And also check out Couchsurfing to find free accommodation around the entire world. It's not only cheaper, but you'll learn so much more about the culture and get great ideas of where to go for fun, and above all, you'll meet some of the most amazing people ever. Fourthly, once you're in other countries, buy most of your own food from local markets and stores. This will save you a lot of money, as well as if you make the food yourself, then you know you're not going to get ripped off with the tourist prices. Lastly, avoid paying outrageous tourist prices to visit popular attractions when many of these can be viewed from a distance and enjoyed from the outside. Obviously, some do require you to pay if you want to see what's inside the attraction, but many can be viewed from outside without paying the prices. So now that you've heard some ways that makes traveling the world possible on a meager income, I'd like to help you visualize how world travel educated me and gave me some of the best times in my life. Every culture you encounter in the world traveling will help you to better understand and appreciate your life in America as well as other people's lives in other countries. I'd like to share with you very briefly a few culture experiences that changed my life forever. As Jeff and I traveled China, we learned about the culture's lifestyle of dedication, hard work, and respect. We had the pleasure of walking up over 66,000 stairs up the side of Mount Emei, observing hundreds of dedicated Buddhist pilgrims doing the same. But we just walked up the mountain. They, every 8 steps, took a bow until they reached the top of the mountain. Though Jeff and I are not Buddhists, it was a life-changing experience to us to see so much love and dedication for something. We came to a level of respect for these people that we had never felt before. In India, we learned about the joy that people can have even in the midst of straight-up poverty as we walked through thousands of tiny little tents within a few miles of Indian slums, where people barely eat and sleep and live under the scorching sun in a land filled with feces, trash, and rank water. Because of their torturous caste system in this country, individuals who are born into a lower caste are doomed to a life of total poverty, barely able to survive, and yet they live a life full of smiles, singing, and kindness toward others. Experiencing this broke our hearts and made us think about how privileged we are here in America. It's actually pretty disgusting to think about how much we complain and gripe about our situation here when really we have the world at our fingertips. So today we traveled why world travel is so important as an education, how it lessens the ethnocentric attitudes in people, how we can grow emotionally and physically, and how anyone can take the steps to experience this. So I challenge each of you today to reach for the stars, get out of the typical American lifestyle of being comfortable in your little bubble. Let the native explorer inside you get you around the world to become more educated. If you don't already have your passport, please take the steps necessary in getting your passport by visiting uspassportnow.com and begin the journey of your travels today. Thanks.